It's rare for me to feel so connected to a series. To be connected to it at a spiritual level that makes me feel whole. But the oldest view does this in many ways, and I feel this is what makes my life better. It's almost hard to define and to pinpoint exactly what it is that makes this series so much better for my life. That makes me want to continue to live because I know that I got to see the oldest view. But I'm going to attempt to convey my affection for this amazing and incredible series in this video. I've spent countless hours rewatching this series, and I've dissected it frame by frame, seen every single detail, and I think that I have found what makes it better for my life. First of all, the soundtrack. The soundtrack is what gives this series life, and it gives me life too. Not only is it a work of art, it makes me feel emotions I never thought I would feel. Like dread and fear. But not only that, admiration for this incredible series that I am blessed to be able to see with my own two eyes. Now, I'm aware that not everyone will be convinced that this is a good reason to like this series, and while I question your thinking, I'm aware that this is not the case for everyone, and that soundtrack alone can't convince you to like a series, but I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can, and hopefully by the end of this video, you will understand why the oldest view makes my life better. The setting of the series is beautiful. We find ourselves in a tunnel going into the center of the earth, and what lies beneath that tunnel is a mall, the Valley View Center. The Valley View Center was a real mall that was demolished, but yet it's here, underground, and this is where our series takes place. In the third installment, The Rolling Giant, our protagonist Wyatt enters the mall and explores. In his travels, he finds a particular statue dedicated to a botanist, Julian Reverjon, also known as the Rolling Giant. The Rolling Giant is my favourite character in all of fiction. I love him more than anything in the world, and I'm going to try to tell you just what makes me so giddy about this character, this design, and his story. Because it's giant. First of all, the implications that this statue is more than it seems, as the statue or monument is sentient. It moves, it thinks, it's alive. It is sentient in some way, some unnatural spiritual way, and it has a connection with the protagonist Wyatt. Their relationship develops in the series as we see Wyatt try to escape and the giant try to keep him from leaving. This, I believe, symbolizes the giant's need for connection and desire to be not alone anymore. Trapped in this mall, it would weigh on a person, and the first visitor he has is frightened by his presence and immediately tries to leave. This does anger the giant, but he still tries to remain calm, not attacking him. He simply leaves him be as Wyatt continues to look through the mall. The giant watches Wyatt as he wanders through the mall, keeping an eye on him, making sure he doesn't hurt himself. This is a display of kindness to this traveller who enters his domain, as he doesn't harm him in any sort of way. He tries to befriend Wyatt by giving him a nice surprise when he least expected it. A friendly prank on his new best friend. He taps Wyatt on the shoulder, letting him know that he's not alone in this new and uncomfortable area that he's stuck in. He remains calm. He stays still, not to frighten this new stranger, as he communicates in his own way, which is staring silently at him. But Wyatt unfortunately doesn't pick up the signal that this is a friendly giant, and he does try to walk away from him. This upsets him very tinily, and so to remind Wyatt that he's a person, he gives him another little tap on the shoulder. When he taps him on the shoulder, you can faintly hear the giant say, "Yo, Wyatt, this view's old, son." This reminds me that he's a person too. But Wyatt, the frightened person he is, doesn't understand. And he turns away again. This leaves the giant with no other choice but to give him one final tap on the shoulder. Under the giant's breath, you can hear him say, "Yo, Wyatt, I ain't gonna hurt you, son." But Wyatt, being Wyatt, turns away one final time to run. The giant decides to give him a hug to calm him down. Wyatt, afraid of hugs, runs up the stairs, knowing that this rolling boy cannot get up them. He stares at the giant as the giant sadly weeps. Through his muttered breath, you can hear him say, "Wah, wah, wah," as he turns around and runs away, upset that Wyatt has rejected his friendly hug. As he rolls away, Wyatt decides to be a jerk and tries to leave once again. Now, the giant, being the understanding individual he is, decides, I'll let him get a bit further this time, but I want to give him a hug. So, as he sees Wyatt booking it for the exit, he decides to speed up his efforts to make sure that his friend doesn't leave without a hug. So, with all of his reeling power, he rolls towards Wyatt. You can hear him faintly say in the background, "Yo, Wyatt, I ain't gonna hurt you, son. Give me a hug, son." Wyatt, afraid of hugs, desperately looks for an exit. Wyatt smashes his elbow into the wooden plank. This upsets the giant, as he's part tree, and that hurts his feelings. But he decides to give the glass a little high five. But the friendly giant unfortunately smashes it. This frightens Wyatt as he books it into the hallways. As Wyatt enters the back rooms, he runs. Now, this part of the oldest view perfectly demonstrates what happens to someone under stress. They're not thinking logically. Wyatt doesn't understand it. He just wants to have a hug. So he runs. This is what I believe makes the Rolling Giant and the oldest view better for my life. As the writing, the acting is so good that it makes me cry every time I watch it, knowing that Mr. The Oldest Hugs wants to give Wyatt a hug. My second reason for loving the oldest view is the visuals. None of this mold is real. The Rolling Giant was once real, but is not anymore. But they have been geniusly recreated in the 3D program known as Blender. And that is the biggest inspiration to me, that this can all be done for free on your laptop. But there is a third reason why I love this series so much, and that is the conclusion to the third episode, The Rolling Giant. Wyatt leaves the back rooms to see that the mall is now blue and overtaken by nature. This is the giant's way of reassuring that Wyatt is safe and that he's in his natural habitat, which is a little joke by the giant, which I think is pretty funny. As Wyatt walks through this overtaken by nature mall, he runs back into the giant. The giant mutters under his breath, "Yo, Wyatt, I can help you leave, son." You can hear that he's sad, but he's willing to help his friend leave this mall that is causing him so many troubles. The rolling giant walks up the stairs and says to Wyatt, quietly but effectively, "Yo, son, I want to show you something, son." In a blink of light, he shows him a horse, demonstrating that he's hungry. Then he looks to the side, pointing towards an exit, then gives him one final hug. Wyatt jumps out the way, and the giant looks on angrily, but moves away. Wyatt, now stuck on the catwalks, has to go to the exit that the giant pointed to. But, unfortunately, tragedy does strike. Before departing, the rolling giant says, "Yo, careful Wyatt, it's slippery over there." Wyatt, taking in his warning, but disregarding the safetyness of it, walks up to the exit. But here is where tragedy does strike, as Wyatt attempts to get into the doorway. He slips. He hears someone on the down floor say, "Hey yo, the pizza's here." And then Wyatt falls. The giant takes Wyatt to the forest and lets him have a little sleep, as he walks on in distance and says goodbye to his new best friend, who is now his oldest best friend. And as he stares at him, he mutters under his breath, "Man, this view is getting old, son." And he rolls away. And with this comes the conclusion to the video on why the oldest view makes my life better. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you now see the reason on why I love the oldest view so much, and the rolling giant. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, YouTube.